If life feels harder than it did 20 years ago, this video is for you. Not because you're weaker, not because you failed, and not because you're just getting older. Life actually became harder structurally, psychologically, and socially, and most people were never told why. Stay until the end, because the final reason is the one nobody names. This isn't a rant or a complaint, it's an explanation. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through 5 real changes backed by data that quietly reshaped daily life in America. By the end, you'll understand why things feel heavier and why that feeling isn't a personal failure. First, basic stability became harder to secure. 20 years ago, stability came first. Housing, healthcare, transportation. Once those were covered, life had room to breathe. Today, those basics compete with everything else. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, the U.S. is short over 7 million affordable rental homes for low-income households. That shortage means stability is no longer guaranteed, even for people who are working full-time. This isn't just about higher prices, it's about mental load. When housing, healthcare, and essentials feel uncertain, your nervous system stays on alert all the time. Instability drains your energy before life even begins. Second, work takes more but gives less back. People aren't lazy, they're tired. U.S. workers are more productive than they were decades ago, yet many report feeling less secure and more disposable. The American Psychological Association consistently reports that money and work-related stress are top stresses for adults. Not because people aren't earning, but because effort no longer reliably leads to security. That breaks a fundamental expectation humans rely on. If I try, I'll be okay. When that expectation erodes, everything feels harder. And work stress doesn't end when you log off, because your attention never rests. Third, your attention is constantly fragmented. 20 years ago, attention had boundaries. Work ended, news paused, even boredom existed. Today, attention is under constant demand. Research summarized by Our World in Data shows U.S. adults spend multiple hours per day consuming digital media. That means your brain is switching contexts constantly, processing alerts, headlines, and messages, and rarely fully recovering. Cognitive science shows that constant context switching increases fatigue, reduces patience, and makes everyday decisions feel heavier. You're not overwhelmed because you're weak, you're overwhelmed because your mind never gets to rest. Fragmented attention equals a heavier life. Fourth, community quietly disappeared. One of the biggest changes in the last 20 years wasn't technological, it was social. The U.S. Surgeon General warns that loneliness and social isolation significantly increase health risks comparable to smoking or obesity. But loneliness isn't just emotional, it removes buffers. When community weakens, parenting gets harder, aging feels scarier, and financial stress multiplies. Life becomes a solo effort. Modern life asks people to handle pressures that used to be shared. That alone makes everything feel heavier. And now we reach the change almost nobody talks about. What changed most in the last 20 years isn't just money, work, attention, or community. It's that life now operates under constant scarcity. Scarcity of stable housing, predictable work, quiet mental space, and reliable community. Scarcity forces constant decision-making. This leads to decision fatigue at a low-level anxiety that hums in the background. Even good lives feel heavy when lived under permanent scarcity. That's the shift most people feel but can't name. So, if life feels harder than it did 20 years ago, it's not because you're failing. It's because you're navigating a world with fewer buffers, higher demands, and less margin for error. Understanding this doesn't fix everything, but it removes the shame, and clarity is the first relief. Life didn't become harder because people got weaker. It became harder because the systems around daily life changed. When you understand that, you stop fighting yourself and start choosing where your energy actually belongs. Thanks for watching.